Hi, I'm Dana and welcome to part 2 of everything that I watched in 2024. I did really think I was going to make this into one video. It would have been like 3 hours long. So here's part 2. We're going from June onwards. I'm just going to get straight into it. I am going to continue having to look up every movie that I have ever watched. So the first watch for June was Abigail, and I did think I was thinking of the right film, and I indeed was. It's the little girl that's like a monster. I don't want to give anything away. I saw a lot of people saying it was like the best horror film they'd seen in years. I wouldn't go that far, but I did really enjoy it. Like, I wouldn't, if someone was like, oh yeah, my favourite horror film's Abigail, I'd be like, well, fair enough. You know, like, I wouldn't be like, that's your favourite, like, out of every horror film, that one. Like, fair, yeah. Like, it was really good. It just didn't hit that strong for me personally, but I did enjoy it. I then continued on my Jason Lee bullshit and watched Drawing Flies. It wasn't my favourite ever. It wasn't bad. I don't remember it well. I'm probably not going to rewatch it again. And I found it really difficult to find as well. Like, it took me a hot minute. I didn't hate it. It definitely wasn't like in my top 10 favourites. I watched Scott Pilgrim. I feel like I have seen this before. Like, I've definitely seen this like a couple of times as a teenager, but I did not remember it at all well. And this was actually a choice at a friend's house. I remember watching it with my friends, and there's the bit when Chris Evans is in it, and he's like the skateboarding, like, and his last name's Lee, and I was a bit like, yo, this is meant to be Jason Lee. They are taking the piss out of Jason Lee here. And I think my friends thought I was like a little bit crazy, but then I googled it and I was right. So I really fucking enjoyed that. I got to carry on with my Jason Lee bullshit completely unintentionally. Then I watched Crawlers, and we're gonna have to look this one up. Crawlers 2024 film. See, I know that I watched it, but I don't really remember this one. I find that I am very like that with zombie films. I either remember it really well, like I don't remember what it's called, so that proves my point really well. I think it might have been Cargo, but there was one that came out a few years back with Martin Freeman in, who I don't usually like. I'm not normally a big fan of Martin Freeman, but that was one of my absolute favourite zombie films. That was really fucking good. And Crawlers apparently just didn't hit for me like that. We then watched Foil. Oh, I remember thinking this was going to be like such a fun little alien film, and then it just dragged on and it didn't really feel like anything was happening. I remember so many scenes of them like talking in the desert, and then there'd be like some other guy, and it felt like there were a load of deleted scenes that just didn't, like a lot of scenes that should have been deleted scenes that were just left in the movie, you know? Like, it wasn't awful, but it definitely could have been better just with the material that was already there if you just took out the bits that weren't really needed. I didn't love it. I then watched Almost Famous, and this was one that I was expecting to like really adore, and I did enjoy it, but I think this is another one that, like, if I'd watched it as a teenager with like a few less thoughts and opinions and experiences, I think I'd have been like, oh my god, yes, and been like really struck by like the romanticisation of it all. But watching it as like a full-grown adult, I was sort of just a bit like, someone get your kid, like, Jesus Christ, someone come and collect your children from this place, like, what are you doing? Then I watched Jawbreaker, which I've seen a bunch. I watched this a lot as a teenager. I watched this probably like once every like 2 or 3 years. It's Rose McGowan, who again I'm not usually the biggest fan of, but Jawbreaker is just, it's one of those things that fits the scene for like, I want a girly little chick flick that also has murder, you know? It's very like Heather's coded for me. I feel like I have read somewhere online that like the director or the writer or like someone involved said that it was like inspired by Heather's. I feel like that's not just a me thing. I wanted to carry on my Kevin Smith thing, but I didn't want to just keep watching Kevin Smith movies, and I'd already watched like everything he was involved in. And I this is me feeling like I really have to give you some excuses for having watched Phantom starring Ben Affleck. And you know what the fucking worst part is I really enjoyed Phantoms by Ben Affleck. It had a plot, it kept going with the plot, they knew what they were doing, it knew what it wanted to do. Like, I'm not saying it's like the best movie ever, but when it comes to like slightly shitty movies that I really enjoy, I really enjoyed Phantoms, man. Devil in the Flesh is another one we're gonna have to look up. Which one is it? See, I've got 2000 written down, but the ones that are popping up are from 1998 or 1996. Oh, have I watched the second one by accident? I thought it didn't make sense when I was watching it. Yeah, I've fucked up and watched this Devil in the Flesh too. that was my main gripe, was that there were loads of bits where I was like, am I meant to just have context for this? I should have watched the first movie first. Other than that, I actually did enjoy it. I was just very confused at some parts, and there were loads of bits where I was like, am I meant to just like, do they think I know these people? But like, I was meant to know those people. Then I watched Dodgeball, and that's another one I think is just like a great, like, sort of modern classic. I don't know, I feel weird calling movies from the 90s classics, but like, it's not even from the 90s, it's from 2004. I think I feel especially weird calling movies from the noughties classics, but also Dodgeball is. I fucking love Dodgeball. Now we get to Half Baked, Totally High, the 2024 film. These dudes, I think it's that they grow the weed with the ashes like in the soil, and then they like form this like extreme strain of weed that a dude smokes and like immediately dies. But if the chosen one smokes it, then he won't die. It's such a silly little stoner film, and it's so funny, and I absolutely loved it. I definitely liked this more than just, yeah, it's just called Half Baked, right? More than the first one, more than the thing that was a sequel to. I have actually seen that one. At least we have that going. Then I watched The Sasquatch Gang, and I am going to have to Google this, but I also do remember it was the one with Justin Long in. I just need to see some of the other faces, and then I'll know what was happening. Oh yeah, this was probably my least favourite Justin Long movie, to be honest. No, it wasn't. That's an absolute lie. Justin Long is in some absolute shite, I won't lie to you. Like, he's good in it, but it's not... He's often not in good things. And this... I think sometimes I get too excited for things. I saw that it was about Sasquatch and that it had Justin Long, and I was like, this is gonna be just my kind of thing. And it wasn't entirely not, but I didn't love it either. I then watched A Case of You, and I'm pretty sure this was the one with Justin Long and Evan Rachel Wood where he was a fucking asshole. Yes, I'm correct. He lies and manipulates and just fucks around with Evan Rachel Wood, like with her emotions, with her feelings, with everything about her. And then he's like writing a book or a story or a movie or something about it, and he like does it, he like pitches it to these other two dudes, and they're like, whoa, what an asshole, this guy is awful. And he's like, okay, and just like carries on. And then eventually he tells her what he's done, and she's just like, oh, it's alright then, because I love you. I hated it. I really, like, it wasn't a terribly made film, and I really liked the cast, but the plot was... Sometimes you can really tell that men in Hollywood think that the things they're doing are okay. Like, frankly. And then I saw The TV Glow. And this is one that's kind of made me sad, because I definitely didn't get it, frankly. Like, this is definitely not the movie. This is one that is genuinely amazing, I think. Because I've seen so many other people talking about it and talking about all the stuff that they like got from it, and I didn't. Like, I did find it emotionally impactful, don't get me wrong. But I went into it not having seen anyone talk about it, and for me it was like very special interest related, and very like the way that I don't feel like I'm at one in this world. I don't understand how it works, but I understand how my little TV worlds work. And like, I think that it is just that, like, from my own personal experiences and the way that I put myself into the media I engage with, I didn't get what everyone else got, but I wish I did. Like, whatever everyone else is seeing it seems really cool. I did not expect to see such a big reaction of people talking about it, you know? And I think it's sick, I think it's really great, but I wish I got it properly, and I don't. Then I watched 2002 Scooby-Doo, because it's a fucking classic. I very, very, very vaguely remember Kissing a Fool, because I fucking hate David Schwimmer. He always looks smug. Like, it doesn't matter what he's doing, he always looks a bit smug for me, and he annoys me. I didn't really enjoy this film outside of it being Jason Lee. Jason Lee's always great. Then I watched Dreamcatcher, and I actually remember that without having to Google it, because I really enjoyed it. It was like a bit shit, and it was really like spooky and silly and like gory. Like, I liked it. Then I watched Mumford, and I remember as I was writing this in my book, I was like, I don't remember what that's about. Like, I literally just watched it, and I was like, I don't even know. Like, it had Jason Lee in it, that's why I cared, but I don't... It meant so little to me. Like, sometimes it does feel like movies are just happening. But then I watched Heartbreakers, and I am going to get this up because I want my memory to be fully prompted, but I fucking loved Heartbreakers. It's from 2001. It was Sigourney Weaver and fucking Jennifer Love Hewitt. I could have just looked at the screen and seen the name, man. And they're like scam artists, essentially, that try and get like rich husbands so they can just get loads of money in the prenup. And their mother and daughter, Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt. And Jennifer Love Hewitt goes after Jason Lee, but as she's like slowly seducing him and getting him to fall in love with her, she realises that she's also falling in love with him because he's the perfect man. And I've never loved Jason Lee like I did. Oh, he's so lovely. I don't want to spoil it, but everything he does and everything he is, if a man existed like that, I would actually be interested in a fucking man. He's perfect in it. He just makes me feel. And like, there's even a point when Sigourney Weaver tries to seduce him to prove that he's not all that, and he says no to Sigourney Weaver. The perfect man. A guy thing, I don't recall. I'm assuming it also had Jason Lee in it. No, I do remember a guy thing. Jason Lee has two women fighting over him for the movie, essentially. But I mostly remember that he wakes up in the morning and he rolls over and sees the one that he slept with instead of his fiance, even though he slept with her on his stag do. And it's that fucking song. It's like David E's Beautiful Morning or something. It was in My Name is Earl as well. It has a whole... It connects to Jason Lee for me. Because it also has that guy that was in Raising Hope and maybe also in My Name is Earl. And he was also in Chasing Holden, which I'm not going to watch because why would I watch something called Chasing Holden? Kevin Smith fans will get me on that one. I Need to Move Off. Under Paris. This was where there were sharks, in the Seine and in the catacombs. I love a shark film. I don't know what else to say. Ghost Shark, Sharknado, Under Paris. I love shit like that. I think it's fun. I just really enjoy it. I don't know what else to tell you. And then I had to do a little comfort watch and go back to the Jane Silent Bob reboot. And then we watched Away and Back. Oh, I quite enjoyed this one as well. Because again, Jason Lee was some slightly gruff sort of farmer dude. And this woman was having to invade his land a bit to try and protect some protected bird or something. I have a thing for when men are all gruff and annoyed, but the woman slowly works her way in and then he starts to soften. When it's an actor I like, it really does something for me, and that's what that did. Then I watched Columbus Circle and I fucking hated this. That was one of those films where they shoved 80,000 plots into a film to try and make it interesting, and it just kind of made it not even particularly confusing so much as oh, we're back to these guys again and they're gonna do that. I did not enjoy the Columbus Circle. And then I watched Bad Neighbours. I rewatch Bad Neighbours semi-regularly. I really like the Bad Neighbours movies. I think they're really funny. I really like Zac Efron and Seth Rogen together. I think they're a really fucking good duo. I would really love to see more of them. So I also watched Bad Neighbours 2 afterwards. And then I watched Underdog, where Jason Lee voices a dog that saves the day. It's a very typical fucking kids film. I maybe would have liked it more if I didn't think that Cats and Dogs is the most perfect film that's ever been made with a talking dog, and we just don't need to do any others. And then I also rewatched Michael, which is, I was going to say it's my favourite John Travolta film, but I think it's probably the only John Travolta film that I watch with any sort of regularity. He plays the Archangel Michael and he's just hanging out in Midwest America. It's silly and funny and weird and cutesy, and I like watching it after Dogma. It feels like a good double bill. I made myself a cuppa to be cosy with this video. Oh my god. Dana, 15 minutes ago, you were brilliant. I got the expensive soy milk because it was all the shop had and I am not enjoying it. Okay, so because the last show that I'd watched in May was My Name is Earl, I then obviously had to watch it's not, I mean it is and isn't a full continuation of My Name is Earl. Have I said what it is? I watched Raising Hope, which is, it's a separate family, but also Earl and Randy and the pizza guy are it's not the pizza man though, is it? I think Pizza Man does play a different character, but there's that bit when Earl nods at him. Anyway, it's sort of quite your standard 2010-ish American sitcom. But I liked it. It was funny, it was cute, it was sweet, there were a lot of heartwarming moments. I liked the actors in it. I really don't have anything negative to say about it. I don't think I'd watch it again, to be truly honest, but I did enjoy watching it. I also watched Geek Girl on Netflix. I barely remember it, but I remember I didn't really like it. Then we watched Unsupervised. Oh yeah, I do remember that actually. I was it's weird when I don't remember TV shows. It's two I almost spilled my tea then. It's two working class lads in this cartoon that just get up to stuff together. It's a very sort of Beavis and Butthead Cramp Twins sort of vibe. I liked it. Again, I probably won't watch it again, but I did like it. And then I watched The Harper House, which is a little family with a little girl, and she's a bit mental and they're all struggling, and it's very millennial family cartoon sitcom type thing. again, I enjoyed that. I should actually see if there's a new season of that. I liked it enough to watch a new season. I then watched Bob's Burgers season 14 because I keep up with that. And then I rewatched Doctor Who Flux Plus season 14 because I like to note when I've watched like an entire season of a show, but I don't know like individual episodes or anything. And then I also watched season 17 of Taskmaster. So moving on to July, this is going to be a little bit of a quicker one. So we watched the first 2 Jeepers Creepers movies, and then we watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off again, and then we watched Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back again, along with Chasing Amy Mole, that's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and oh, we have a different one. We have The Faculty, which has Elijah Wood and Robert Patrick in it, and it's basically just a really shit 90s horror film about some aliens invading a school and Elijah Wood and his little group of like misfit friends having to stop it. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it. Faculty is one of my favourite films. It's really, really good. I would heavily recommend you watch The Faculty if you haven't already. We then went back in for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot and Dogma. I then rewatched Leon, and a bunch of you guys actually have noticed that I have the multi-pass back here, and I had a hot moment where I was really going to get into Luc Besson because I really like The Fifth Element and I really liked Leon. I think there was another film he directed that I really, really liked, and then I read something or another about him that put me off. And that's one thing that I want you to really consider here, is that I watch a lot of stuff on VHS tape and I'm not very aware of like individual people doing things. You know, like if it's not in like the general pop culture sphere, I don't know about it. So I was in the middle of I think I was halfway through like the first Jeepers Creepers movie when I'd mentioned watching it to someone and they were like, oh, but the director, and I was like, huh? But I did end up watching Jeepers Creepers 3 and Jeepers Creepers Reborn, and I think that's probably me done with the whole Jeepers Creepers franchise now because the director is so fucking grim and all of it grosses me out. Like I properly looked into it and I am probably out of that now. And then watched Inside Out 2 because I just sort of like keeping up with some of the Disney films. I'm not going to watch the second Moana film, I really don't care about that, but I quite enjoyed Inside Out, so I thought I'd give the second one a try. And like it's a Disney kids film, you know, it's perfectly entertaining and nice to watch while you're watching it. It didn't really, like, I liked it, I'm not against it. I then watched Adult Life Skills. This is one of the films that I watch like 2 or 3 times a year. Anna in it, played by Jodie Whittaker, is just such a beautiful, relatable baby of a character. I love her so much. I think it's got such a beautiful plot. I love that it's just like so English and British and just, it feels so girlhood for me. Like that's the thing as well, it doesn't, because like she doesn't feel like girl, but like also it does feel like girlhood. I love it. I love it so much, and I love Jodie Whittaker so much. And then I watched Hello Carter, and I am going to have to prompt my memory on this one. Yeah, I should remember it because Jodie Whittaker's in it, but I can't honestly tell you that I do. I really can't. I don't remember that. I don't think it was very good because that's gone. I watched Venus. I kind of want to make an entire video about Venus, but I don't want to be someone that's made an entire video about Venus. I think that it's so beautiful and it's so deep, and it explores the connections that humans are able to actually make with each other and how those connections are supposed to work, and the ways in which the relationship formats that we've created as a society don't always fit for the way that humans are able to relate to each other and understand each other. And I think that it's a really truly beautifully well done, well made film, and I absolutely adore it. It's not my favourite thing with Jodie Whittaker in because of Adult Life Skills and Doctor Who, but it's fucking up there as one of like my favourite things in the world. It's so good. I then also watched Good Vibrations from 2012, which again had Jodie Whittaker in. I was watching it for Jodie Whittaker. It was a very good, very deep, impactful film. It also had Adrian Dunbar in it. I didn't overly enjoy it. Like, I thought it was very well made. I thought, you know, like it was technically good, but I didn't personally find it good. And then the last film I watched in July was Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, and I feel like everyone's heard about this by now. We all know that Daniel Radcliffe did fucking amazingly and that it was just a hilarious movie, and I wish more celebrity biopics were like that. I really, really liked it. It was really, really fun. The shows I watched, Memphis Beat, which is where Jason Lee was like a little like cop dude in Memphis, obviously. There were some bits that were really quite gripping and quite fun and cool, and there were some bits that really bored me and just didn't really work for me. As a bitch that loves a British fucking cop show. It was kind of just weird watching like what my normal cops do be so dramatized and Americanized, and I think it's one of those where that's just the way that American cop shows kind of are, and that's not for me, and that's why I watch British ones. But it was fun to watch, I won't lie, and Jason Lee was really, really good in it. Then I watched Broadchurch because I needed it. I needed a fucking moment of just a British like vibe cop show. And I haven't watched it since I watched it back in the day for David Tennant. So I was like, it's time to do the watch where I focus on Jodie. And it was so fun actually because there's so many more people that I recognise from Doctor Who than there were the first time. Because like fucking Jacob Anderson's there as well. Like I really enjoyed it. Like the first time I watched Broadchurch, it was around the time it came out, so I would have been like 16, 17, and I didn't hate it, but I was very much only there for David Tennant. I didn't really watch that type of show very often, and watching it now at this age as someone who does watch that type of show quite a lot, I really fucking enjoyed it. It was really good. Then I also watched One Night. Getting Jodie Whittaker as a character that has a wife was beautiful and I loved it. It was a very, very heavy fucking show. There were a bunch of bits that I had to pause and have a big old cry, and I think that it was really fucking good. Like that's the thing is I do like fun things, so I kind of struggle to know what to say when I think something's like deep and impactful and all that, because I don't know what to say about it obviously, but like it was, you know, it was a lot. Like that's the kind of, I will watch anything that has an actor I like in it and I just go into it. I don't look up like trigger warnings or anything, and I probably fucking should. Like if you're gonna watch it, I would recommend looking up trigger warnings for it, because there were some bits that really made me not feel good, but it was a very good show. And then I rewatched Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes again, because that's what I have to do. And then I watched Spooks, but I've specifically written in that I watched Spooks 2002 to 2009, because I got like 2 episodes past. I don't want to ruin it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but also like it's from 2002. I got to the point where Zoe left for Costa Rica, and I was like, if Keely ain't here, nor am I. Like, August was a fairly brief month, so maybe this video isn't going to be as excessively long as the last one. So I watched Maxine, the 3rd installment of like, I don't know what they're calling them, like the A24 Triple X fucking films or whatever, the ones with, is it Mia Goth? It's not Mia Goth, is it? There's Pearl and the other one, and then Maxine. I watched the 3 of them, really, really liked them. I really enjoy an A24 horror film. I like that style, I like that kind of just general vibe. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm like becoming so mainstream, man, by enjoying it, but I really liked it. Like, it don't matter, does it? Then we watched Space Cadet, and it's not Cadet Kelly, but we'll see how it is. I have a vibe of it in my head, but yeah, it was the one with Emma Roberts, and she just sort of like lied and forced her way into the fucking Space Academy. I have such a massive soft spot for Emma Roberts, and I know that she like has her dodgy moments and everything, but I fucking love Wild Child, and I feel like the films that she makes tend to have that kind of vibe, and I love it. Like, I don't necessarily love her, but I love the vibe. Then I watched Immaculate. Oh, that was the one with Sydney Sweeney as the nun. That was another one I felt like I just didn't really get. But I don't feel like I didn't get it in the way of I didn't get it. I feel like there wasn't an awful lot there for me to get. I didn't enjoy it. Then I watched Rare Beasts again, and then I watched Scoop again, and then I watched Totally Killer. I fucking loved this. This girl like creates a time machine to go back to the 80s to stop like this whole like murder thing that was going on with her parents. I love it when bitches travel back to the 80s to like do shit with their childhood trauma or their fucking like parents or any of that kind of shit. Loved that. Then I watched Princess Sid, because it was like, it was definitely on one of those lists of like the best gay films. I found it quite boring. I found it hard to focus on. The gay didn't really help. Then I watched Human Traffic again, 1999 Human Traffic with fucking Sean Parks and John Sim and Danny Dyer. I love Human Traffic, it's a fantastic fucking film. I really wish I'd been around for that like 90s club scene. I don't know, there's just something about it. I really love Human Traffic. And then to go in the same sort of vibe of that, I watched Shaun of the Dead. Every now and again I'm just like, I need early noughties British men. They just don't feel right if they're not like a scrawny, kind of whiny, early noughties British man. And for TV shows in August, I finally watched Orphan Black Echoes because I didn't know that Keeley Hawes had a fucking wife in it. If someone had told me that, I'd have been out the fucking day it came out. So I watched that twice in a row. I then did my, like, I think it's maybe every 5 years I do a rewatch of The Secret Dive of Call Girl. I love it. I love it every time. Every time there's just new things that I notice in it and new things that I'm like, oh, that's smart, that's cool, I like this. And I just, especially for the time it came out and for the like subject matter, I just think they fucking nailed it. And I really, really love it. I really love Secret Dive of Call Girl. I also finally fucking finished Clocking Off in August. I think it took me like 8 months to watch Clocking Off all in all. I'd do like an episode and then a movie and then like some other show. Like it took me so long to finish Clocking Off. I don't really know why, because the moment I finished it I wanted to rewatch it. Like I really fucking enjoyed Clocking Off. I think it was one of those things where I'm a very character-based person, so once I got to know the characters, I cared about the whole show. But that first like season and a half where I didn't really know the characters yet and they're focusing on a different character every single episode, I was a bit like, oh no, it was, you know, it didn't quite work. But I think if I went back and started it now knowing the characters, I'd get through it really fast. And I am 100% going to be doing a rewatch of that at some point. I then rewatched Derry Girls. I thought I'd missed the season. I thought a new season had come out and it hadn't, so I just rewatched it. And again, there's a reason that Derry Girls gets so much hype, and that's because it's brilliant. Like, it deserves every bit of hype it gets. It's really fucking good. And then I watched The Missing, but the thing with that is I only watched the second season, because the first season's about like James Nesbitt finding his kid or something. Second season's about David Morrison. I never know if his name's fucking David Morrison or David Morrissey. The guy that played Franny in Clocking Off, okay? That guy that was the Doctor in one Christmas special of Doctor Who like 15 years ago? But yeah, it's him and Keeley Hawes. And the last thing I fucking needed was another show of Keeley Hawes just really wanting to get back to her daughter. But I took it, I watched it, I enjoyed it to a point. I love a British cop show, we've talked about that. I love a British cop show all the more if it's got Keeley Hawes in it. I just don't like seeing her cry. September, like we are actually making a move here, okay? I watched Bend It Like Beckham because I remembered it being really gay, and it's not gay at all. Like, it's actually really quite straight. They both really want the man in it. Like, it's the only gay moment is that bit when she's like, oh, lesbian shoes, I thought she was a Pisces. It's not gay, but it's alright. Like, it's not a bad film. Then I watched East is East because, yeah, so we'll get to it. I then rewatched Shallow Grave, and that's another one that I rewatch quite a lot. Shallow Grave's like a really fucked up film, to be honest with you, but it's one of the things that's become one of my like comfort films, because just the way that Christopher Eccleston is in it, I'm like, I'd understand him though. I would understand him, and he would then understand that I understand him, and we'd be alright. Fuck the rest of them. My fucking memory came out and I've just spilled like most of me fucking copper across my fucking rug. So yeah, I hope you heard me talk about Shallow Grave. I didn't feel like I was as excited about it as everyone else was. And I was excited Bern Gorman was in it. I'm always excited when I see Bern Gorman. But otherwise, I did sort of feel... I felt weird about Beetlejuice 2. It felt empty, man. Like, I think compared to how much I loved the first one, and like the way that it impacted me as a teenager and seeing that and being like, I myself am strange and unusual. Like, I felt really weird watching the second one as an adult, and I didn't think it was bad, but I also didn't really enjoy it. And as such, to cheer myself up, I watched Heathers straight afterwards. I fucking love Heathers. The proper one, the 80s one, not... I think they did a remake. I won't be watching it. I watched the remake of The Craft fucking ages ago because David Duchovny was in it. I deeply regretted it. I'm not watching a remake of Heathers. and obviously I can't watch anything without fucking Emma Robertson without watching Wild Child, so I watched that next. And then I had my little moment where I was like, I want to watch The Woman in Black. I saw The Woman in Black in the cinema like 3 or 4 times, and my parents were really mad about it. They hated when I saw things more than once in the cinema. But something about that sort of like Victorian sort of gothic horror just absolutely hit for me. And then a couple of years afterwards, I found out that Liz White played The Woman in Black, and I was like, it all ties together. It's all back to my special interests. I then watched The Moonstone from 1996 because it had Keely Hawes as the main character, and it had Leslie Sharp as a secondary character, which I wasn't expecting. She was just like over there, and I was like, my babe. It was a bit shit. The plot's not very good. Very just like, it's a late 90s BBC thing of a load of posh people being like, oh, did you steal my necklace? I'd never steal your necklace. I'm a man of proper standing. You know, like it's fine for what it is. Then I watched To Olivia, which was, I mean, the next few of these are because Keely Hawes was in them, okay? To Olivia was about Roald Dahl and his wife, and look, okay, when Keely Hawes is on screen, I am like so impressed and blown away by her. I genuinely think that she is the single best actor on the planet. The way that she is able to like so entirely embody different characters and like become a different fucking person for them completely amazes me. I think she's the best. I think she is incredible. That's what I focus on when I watch a movie with Keely Hawes in it, okay? That being said though, The Avengers, I ended up buying it on VHS. This is a fucking great movie. This is such a good film. It's so funny. It's so British. It's just, it has a very similar vibe to Spice World for me. That type of like, what the fuck is this? But in a really good way, you know? Then I watched Misbehaviour, which was about like a feminist protest at the Miss World pageant thing in like the 70s. I actually really enjoyed this. This is just the kind of thing that I would have watched without Keely Hawes in it, and it was brilliant. I really, really fucking liked it. Then I watched Rebecca, and I need to watch this again because I don't remember it super well. But I remember being like, oh, I enjoyed that like 1,000 times more than I was expecting to. And that's one of the things I really like about like following actors and watching things that specific actors have done, is the amount of stuff that I watch that isn't the kind of thing I would usually go for whatsoever. But because they're there, I'm gonna watch it. And then I'm like, oh no, that is just my kind of thing actually. I really liked that. That being said though, I did then watch Heavenly Creatures because that's... It's just one of my like standard rewatches. I rewatch Heavenly Creatures like probably a couple of times a year. That is by far Peter Jackson's best movie in my opinion, and I really like it. And then I also watched Complicity, which was a Scottish movie from like 2000. There was a lot of driving, there was a lot of shouting, there was quite a lot of Keely Hawes naked. So then I also, we're gonna do... I had to move on, okay, I'm sorry. For shows, I watched The Fall. Again, I rewatch The Fall semi-regularly. It's a British cop show, and it has Gillian Anderson and Archie Punjabi. It's brilliant. I then watched Daddy Issues because it had Amy Lou Wood from Sex Education and the David whose last name we can't remember. And the thing with that is that I'd just seen him play my absolute all-time favourite person's husband. So I was like, okay, mate, okay. And then all of a sudden he's playing the father of someone my age, and I hate that. I keep having that happen. Why? I know exactly why the actors I like play the fucking parents of people my age. I just don't like it. I watched Chaos as well, which now turns out to be completely pointless because they just fucking cancelled it like 3 days after it came out. But I did actually enjoy it at the time, and if it hadn't been fucking cancelled, I would have carried on watching it and probably recommended it to people because it was really good. I also then watched Traitors, and that's the type of thing that I feel like I should enjoy because I actually like, I did quite enjoy it. Like I'm not usually for like a wartime spy thing, but like stick Keely Hawes in it and obviously I'm gonna enjoy it. But then she also started fucking Stephen Campbell Bower, is that his fucking name? Evan. She started fucking Evan, okay? Mashes Thrashers fans get it. I didn't enjoy that. I didn't like the entire ending of it. But there was that one bit where she like gripped that girl's chin and did the whole like, do you think I don't know how to be clever and pretty and make men like me and make men want to look at me and just not choose to? Gagged, babe. We might regret this. I feel like I recall, but I need my mind jogged there. Oh, I do fully remember this, yeah. A disabled woman needs help and care and shit, so her best friend moves in to give her the help and care and shit, and they're just a bit fucking mental together. I watched this right before moving in with Winter, and it was good timing. It's such a nice show, okay? Like I feel like it's one of those things where I don't feel the most comfortable being like the person that talks about physical disability because I don't have one, but it's so fucking nice seeing actual representations of how it is to manoeuvre out in the world as a wheelchair. Yeah, I thought I'd said the word wheelchair wrong then, but just manoeuvring out and about in the world as a wheelchair user and having the shit where like the taxi driver won't take us because you'd have to put the ramp down. Oh, we can't just go into that bar because there's a step. Like, things like that all the time that people just don't think about were actually pointed out. And the thing I really liked as well is that oftentimes in TV shows, when they are eventually pointed out, it's a huge thing. Whereas for this, it was very much the real life thing of like, well, we can't go down this bit of curb, so we're gonna have to go all the way up there and all the way back down. And they're not saying that, they're just chattering and continuing the actual plot while having to walk all the way up there and all the way back down. I really liked it. Then I watched The Canterbury Tales from 2003, and this was an absolute fucking effort and a half to find. I really loved the episode with Julie Walters in, and I kind of hated the episode with Keely Hawes in because she had fucking John Sim trying to flirt with her, and I was like, I don't want you two in the same decade, never mind the same fucking room. Go home, John. Ugh. She did choose the other man though, so at least my babe's smart. And then I rewatched Sex Education, and I think that's probably gonna be the last time I rewatch Sex Education, to be honest with you. Like, we're not getting any more of it, that's that now. I really enjoyed it, but I think we're done. I think that was probably my last watch. I then did my first ever fucking watch of Scott and Bailey. I've been meaning to watch Scott and Bailey for like fucking 6 years. I've been meaning to watch Scott and Bailey for forever. I loved it. I loved it so much. I feel like I've actually already mentioned Serene Jones and Leslie Sharp and Amelia Bullmore while doing this. It's literally like three of my absolute top favourite women of all time. They're brilliant in it. I have a love-hate thing for Rupert Graves because I love him as an actor, but he always shows up and plays characters that I hate, and I enjoy hating him. Like, I really do. You know, like, I don't hate him as a person, as an actor. Like, I've got no, like, actual negative feelings towards Rupert Graves, but every character that he plays, I'm like, you're a horrible, smug little slimy man, and I'm going to really enjoy saying mean things about you while I watch. I then watched Stonehouse. It was quite a drag. I don't like Matthew McFadyen. Fight me. Him personally, I will fight for your wife, mate. No, but Keely was great in it, and it was really well made. I really enjoy it, and I fucking love the way the BBC really nails doing the different time periods. And I get that it's because they have like a new one, like unlimited budget, and they've got like warehouses full of shit, but it's so nice to see. October, the 4:30 movie came out, so I watched that twice, and like, I don't think it's about to like replace my top favourite Kevin Smith films, but I fucking adored it. And there's a fair few. That's the thing that really got me. There's that one scene when she's like, oh, you are a director, you just haven't made a movie yet, and it had me in fucking tears. And like there's an interview I watched the other day that Kevin talked about that specific scene, and like the way me and that man are the same person, I love it. I love it so much. I then watched Josie and the Pussycats, and this is another one that I don't remember lots and lots of like the details of the plot, but I remember quite a lot of specific scenes and just finding it really funny, like a really laugh out loud kind of movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I remember there was a lot of like satire and a lot of like really cleverly done irony and like that type of humour, and I liked it a lot. Then I watched Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back again. I watched Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back a lot. It's one of my main comfort movies. It just makes me so happy inside. And then I watched Drop Dead Fred again. October was a tough month, okay? Watched Drop Dead Fred. I watched Basketball and realised like halfway through that I'd definitely seen it before and didn't enjoy it all that much. I know that's probably going to be controversial to say. It's got somewhat of like a cult following. I don't really get it. It wasn't really for me. Rewatched Little Shop of Horrors. This was Winter's choice. They wanted to watch it and I went with it. I loved Little Shop of Horrors as a kid, and I think I just overwatched it, honestly. Like, I know it inside out and back to front, you know? And I still enjoy it, but it's not one that I ever think... Like, I've never sat here and I'm like, I want to watch Little Shop of Horrors. But if someone else suggests it, I'm like, I can watch Little Shop of Horrors. My choice, though, was Don't Look Under the Bed. And I think I'm gonna sneeze again. Don't Look Under the Bed was one of those films that I caught as a kid when it had, like, 40 minutes left. I just sat down and watched it because it was the only interesting thing on TV when I was like 11, and it scared the absolute ever-loving bejesus out of me. And we saw that it'd been like banned on Disney and stuff, and we were like, are we about to be genuinely like traumatised? Is this about to be like the scariest film ever? But we think that it just had a lot of like trans allegories in it, honestly. I then also watched The Substance. I'm not going to go super in depth on this, because my opinion on it is exactly the same as everyone else's that you've seen, which is that it was fucking incredible. It was absolutely brilliant. As a bitch that loves like gore and splatter and body horror, it really like ticked off so many fucking boxes for me. I loved every single moment of it. I adored Demi Moore. I'm not familiar with the actress that played like the substanced version of her, but she was incredible. Like, I've seen people saying that's like the movie of the year, and honestly, I think it might be the movie of the fucking decade, to be honest with you. Like, I was really, really, like, it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, Hollywood's, like, making movies again. And it makes complete sense that they would do so with Demi Moore, to be honest with you. But I really enjoyed that. And there's a lot less movies this time, because I watched a lot more TV shows. So my first one was Happy Valley. And I didn't, like, this isn't one that's really been on my list, because I know that it's got Sophie Randall in it. And I didn't know who Sarah Lancashire was until I'd watched Clocking Off. But I didn't know who Sarah Lancashire was until I'd watched Clocking Off. And Siobhan Finneman had played like the only lesbian character in Clocking Off. So when I saw that she was in Happy Valley, I was like, oh, I'll watch that. And it did ring a bell for me. But I was a good bit in when Con O'Neill came into it. And I was like, oh, I think I had like an inkling of like, maybe I'll watch that at some point when I was in my Our Flag Means Death phase. But I finally got round to it. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Made me absolutely fall in love with Sarah Lancashire. It was such a good show. I'm definitely going to rewatch Happy Valley at some point. It's just, it's exactly what I want when I'm just like, I want like a slightly northern, just very British cop show, you know? That's what I want. It was perfect. Look, yeah, okay. I then watched The Casual Vacancy. It was shit. The plot was shit. It was poorly written. The book that it was based on was even more poorly written. The only good thing about it was Keely Hawes. I don't even remember any of other actors in it. Like, I'm sure they're not all awful, but I don't remember anybody else. She was the only upside. Then I watched Unforgiven from 2009, and that had Gemma Redgraves and Peter Davison and Serene Jones in it. And it was written by Sally Wainwright, and it gripped me. This was one that I sat down and watched this movie, which wasn't hard because it is like a limited series. It's not very long, but it was heavy and dark and impactful. And there was some like it was when I want like a BBC drama with these really fucking good actors in. That's exactly what I want. It was perfect. It was brilliant. I then carried on with like my little Sally Wainwright thing and also watched The Last Tango in Halifax. And I wasn't expecting to enjoy this one as much because everything online is just like, two old people fall in love. And then it ended up having Sacha Dhawan, Sarah Lancashire, Dean Andrews, Nicola Walker, and somebody else that I really liked. Rupert Graves, again. Like, it had an absolutely like packed cast of people I adore. There were fucking Sarah Lancashire was a lesbian with Chloe Webber's mum from Doctor Who. Like, it went through like so many different places. It felt like it really felt like living alongside these characters for a little while. So lives are just sort of like thrown up in the air and they try to resettle again. It was really, really, really lovely. I really enjoyed it and I'll definitely watch that again. I then watched the 2010 remake of Upstairs Downstairs, and I've never watched the original. I'm never going to watch the original. I went into it just for Keely Hawes, and then all of a sudden in series 2, we get fucking Alex Kingston as a lesbian archaeologist. So yeah, if I'd known that was a thing, I'd have watched that fucking ages ago, but I only knew that Keely Hawes was in it, so I was just working my way around to it. But we got Alex Kingston as an archaeologist and a lesbian in one. I then watched Ambassador. I don't know how to fucking say this properly. Ambassadors. It's the David Mitchell and Robert Webb one. It wasn't brilliant. It wasn't particularly funny. I think there's a reason that Peep Show and Mitchell and Webb did quite well, and other things that they do together don't. But Keely Hawes was in it, and she was an upside. I then watched Dr. Foster, and this was another one that was like really quite dark and heavy. Serene Jones plays Dr. Foster, and her husband's a fucking cheating, manipulative little bastard, essentially, and it goes through that. And again, like, it wasn't fun, it wasn't nice, but I wanted something that was drama, and that's exactly what it gave me. It was really well written, all of the acting was great. It had that guy that calls Alex the fucking like filthy little tart at the start of Ashes to Ashes. He was in it with fucking Markham. So yeah, I liked it. I also watched Curfew because it had Mandip Gill in it and also Mrs. Flood, which annoyed me. And I didn't dislike it, but I did feel like it could have been like 2 episodes shorter to still get to the same end point. And I also felt like there were a lot of moments that they did the whole like, ooh, isn't this a big mystery? And it's like, not if you think about it for like 2 minutes, please. I then watched The Blonde Bombshell from 1999. I feel weird including this as a show because it was only like a 2-parter and they were both like an hour and a half each. It's the tale of Diana Dawes, like an older, I don't want to call her an old star, but like she is like dead. But yeah, it's just like the biopic about this actress, and Keeley Hawes played Diana Dawes in the first one. And at one point she's married to Rupert Graves, like those two constantly, man. I then watched Fungus the Bogeyman, again because it had Keeley Hawes in it, okay? But it is actually really funny. Like it's 3 parts, they're not super long, really good cast, obviously, because Keeley Hawes is there. But like it's got, I don't know that man's name, he's in one episode of Life on Mars when he owns the club. And he was also, he's the guy that absolutely gets blowjobs off the pavement slab in Doctor Who. You know who I mean. He's in it as well. I'm pretty sure he was married to Keeley in it actually. But it's really funny because the bogeymen don't want to be like us, the dries. And sometimes when they can't decide if they want to be a bogeyman or a dry, they become dry polar. Like it's actually like so punny and shitty and stupid. I loved it. And the final thing I watched in October was Identity from 2010, and this pissed me off, to be completely honest with you. So Keeley Hawes, Adrian Gillan, and someone else are on the Identity fraud/theft team, and every now and then, like every second episode, they're like, oh, we've found a body and now we're going to have to deal with this. And it's like, no, you don't. You're the Identity team. You're absolutely supposed to be handing this off to someone. I'm sorry. I don't want the identity theft team to be dealing with my murder. I love Keeley Hawes in it, and Martha was like the only character I liked, but it was still very like, are you for fucking real right now? Moving on to November, I watched a really long show, so I don't have much to say about that, thank God, because this is getting lengthy. So for movies, I watched The Bank Job from 2008. It's got Keeley Hawes and Stephen Campbell Bower and Daniel Mays in it. It's not the best. It was a bit shit. I don't really enjoy things set in the 70s, but Keeley Hawes was beautiful in it. How to Lose Friends and Alienate People had Simon Pegg and Gillian Anderson in it. And it was actually really funny and really cutesy. I went into it really not expecting to enjoy it very much, but I did. And I should have known I would, because Gillian was there. I then watched St. Trinian's because I had to make Winter watch St. Trinian's because they're American and had never seen it. It's perfect. Both the St. Trinian's films are immaculate. They're absolutely flawless. I adore them both. I have no bad things to say about them. I went to see Wicked in the cinema. Loved it, adored it, 10 out of 10. I only have good things to say about Wicked as well. This last bit of the year, like, absolute bops. So then I watched St. Trinian's 2 with Winter, because they hadn't seen them. And then I went and saw Wicked in the cinema again. I then watched Rita, Sue and Bob 2, and again, this is where I should actually look things up before watching them, because I really was like, yay, a film with Siobhan Finneman and Leslie Sharp, and then all of a sudden this man's cheating on his wife, Leslie Sharp, with Siobhan Finneman and her little teenage mate, because they're both in school, and this full-ass man is just fucking them both in the car. And I get that it's from 1987, but it did actually, I didn't enjoy it. And on the last day of November, I watched Christmas Carol. That's with an E because her name is Carol. It's Tremaine Jones. This film absolutely emotionally annihilated me. It was the reason that I don't think I've watched any other Christmas films, to be entirely honest with you, because it really fucked me up. It's one of those things where for most people it's just a nice little Christmas film. It really dug into my personal family history, okay? I didn't fucking need it. I watched Unforgotten, which was fucking, again, absolutely incredible. It's Nicola Walker. I should have learnt the other man's name, but I never learn men's names. And she plays Cassie, who's a cop that does, like, what are they even called? Basically, it's when the body gets found and it's like this person was murdered, but they were murdered like 40 years ago, and it's taken this long to find their fucking skeleton because the police are so good at their jobs. But she did that, and again, elements of it were very like typical cop show, but then like it also had the added empathy thing of like, I loved the way that Cassie specifically was like, these people deserve justice. These people, we let them down in the first place, and they've just been waiting for someone to do them right, you know? Like, it was a really like empathetic view of wanting to find out what happened to these people. Like, it was really, really nice for like a random little cop drama. I really enjoyed it. And the long show that I got through here was Shetland, and I thought it was fucking finished, so I will give that like 2 weeks ago I had to go back and watch the last like 2 episodes of season 9 that hadn't come out yet. And it's been a long time since I've had to do that with a show. 9 seasons, and I loved it. There were a few bits that started to like sort of like grate on me a little bit, and I had to take a little break to like watch a film, go for a fucking walk, like Jesus. But it really kept me entertained while things have been like quite tough and quite rough. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. The thing I don't enjoy is that Paul Thordy's there for like my other Ashes to Ashes fans. He didn't need to be in it, but he's been in it the whole time, and I've gotten very used to him, to be honest. Okay, let's fucking run through this. We've only got December left now. So, I watched Tusk again, obviously. I watched Rats, the fucking documentary about, God, I don't even know their names. The people that were in, like, Ferris Bueller's and that era of movie star. Sarah Carpenter's Nonsense Christmas. It was fun. I like Chaperone. High Rise was... It was initially really, really slow, and then very quickly got very, very fast. And Keely Hawes was absolutely fucking immaculate in it. Like, that might have been the best that she has ever looked. No, that's a lie. She always looks fucking perfect. Every time I think about Keely Hawes looking her best, there's like 70,000 moments of flash. Anyway, it was a good film. Chaos and Cadavers was my favourite fucking thing ever. You need to go and watch it. It's fucking hilarious, and it has Keely Hawes and Rick Mayall in. Finally, I have a tie-in of Rick Mayall connecting to my fucking special interest of Keely Hawes. Like, I like my things to all connect, and it really pisses me off that Drop Dead Fred didn't have any fucking connection to, like, Doctor Who or Keely Hawes or any of that. So this movie, absolutely, mwah. I can't find it on VHS or DVD, so I didn't even fucking buy it. I messaged my friends in America and was like, guys, why buy this and like ship it to your house? Could you maybe like send it to me at some point? And they just bought it for me because they're fucking icons. And like, I don't know how I'm even gonna get to watch it because it's gonna be an American DVD. I don't care. I need to own it. Rick Mayall and Keely Hawes in the same film. Where was I? The Adventurer, The Curse of the Midas Box. It was shit. This was absolute fucking bollocks. The main lad in it is fucking terrible. The plot was absolutely all over shop. Michael Sheen was fucking terrible in it. Literally the only highlight of it is how beautiful and perfect Keely Hawes looked. After Thomas is Keely Hawes as a mum to a kid that has like quite high autistic support needs, and then they get him a dog and that helps out a load. It had me in tears so many times. It was an experience. I then watched Death at a Funeral, and for like the 4th time in my life got halfway through Death at a Funeral and realised that I've watched it before, and I just like block out 90% of the film because Matthew McFadden's the main character and I don't care about him. I don't hate it, to be fair. Keely Hawes and Rupert Graves are both there. It could be a lot worse. Peter Dinklage is also in it, but I on the whole, I don't enjoy it all that much. Then I watched Prom Dates. It was boring. It wasn't exactly boring. I thought it was going to be a lot more sort of like classic coming of age movie than it really was. It was fine. I didn't love it. I loved Sting though. Sting 2024. It's like, it said it was Australian, so I expected it to be set in Australia, but I think it was set in New York. Giant spiders. It's like that episode of Doctor Who, but it's made in such like, you know when people obviously aren't taking the film too seriously, but they also make it as though they're taking it extremely seriously. That kind of vibe. I loved it. I loved it so much actually that I bothered to look up the director, and I watched Necrotronic from him. I didn't get it. It went right over my head. I couldn't focus on it. I didn't care about it. I'm not going to be getting into that actor. And then for the last little bit of this year, we've been watching it on Discord. I don't know how many of... I was going to say I don't know how many of you guys that hang out on the Discord are going to be here, but like... the chances are pretty high, really, aren't they? So yeah, we watched Crimson Peak and Last Night in Soho together over on the Discord. They're just 2 of my favourite films that I haven't watched in a good long while, and they're the ones that I threw out as like, I wouldn't mind watching. And other people actually wanted to, so that was delightful for me. And then for my shows for December, I watched Bob and Rose. I made a short about this because I loved it so much. I've got it right here to show you again actually. This It's Alan Davies is a gay guy that falls for Leslie Sharp, because why the fuck wouldn't you? And has to deal with like being a gay fella that's realising that he's fallen in love with her and all that kind of stuff that comes along with it. It's written by Russell T Davies. It's very cutesy, it's very funny, some parts are quite sad. It's really good. And the very last show that I watched in 2024 was Gimme Gimme Gimme, which I've been meaning to watch for so fucking long, and then Pete told me to watch on TikTok and I was like, fuck it, I may as well. I loved it, absolutely. I hate that Andrew Clover's in one episode. I didn't need Alex's dad to be in it, but otherwise, I love Kathy Burke. I've always loved Kathy Burke. I should have watched this so much sooner than I did. I won't lie to you, sometimes I think I am just put off by stuff being like really southern. Like, they're like, I think they're meant to be in London, aren't they? And they are like proper southerners, and sometimes I find that kind of off-putting, and not in like not off-putting per se, but like it makes me procrastinate watching it. And I don't know why, because like I love like Bottom and the Young Ones and stuff, you know, like duh. But yeah, that's done. I'm finally free. We are finished. That was everything that I watched in 2024. I don't know if anyone cares. I don't know if anyone's going to have watched this. I don't know if anyone will have... Are you hearing this? Have you gotten this far? Well fucking done if you have. I just about managed it. I'm so done to be finished fucking filming now. Good lord. Okay, you can follow me here. That'd be lovely. I make stuff like this. I make a lot of autism focused content. If you couldn't tell I was autistic and you've somehow watched this far, what's going on? You can follow me over on TikTok or Instagram or Blue Sky. I will link those all down below. I will also link my Patreon and Ko-fi if you would like to join me there and help to like support me financially. You don't have to, there's no pressure, it's up to you. It's all, everything you do is up to you. You are your own person, as am I, and I want to go. So whoever you are, wherever you are, you can have a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you in 3 weeks when I'm finally fucking recovered from this.